Hello, hello guys, welcome to the live. Good evening, guys. So today we are going to continue our project. So we started from Kaggle, we got the data from Kaggle, and from there we've been able to move the data into SQL Server, and from SQL Server we've been able to move it to Power BI. So and from Power BI yesterday we've been able to get some things done on Power BI. So today we'll continue with our Power BI building. So we'll build our visualization. We've talked about average daily discharge rate, and we've talked about the average length of stay, and we've talked about discharges. Welcome, guys. Welcome, guys. Thanks for joining. Thanks so much for joining. Please let's like the live and share to the people who believe it will be beneficial for them. Thank you for joining. Welcome, guys. So where do I start with such a project? So actually, we've done two sessions right now. So I will upload them on my YouTube channel, and you can get the gist of what we are trying to do. So how we got the data from Kaggle, and from Kaggle how we got it into SQL Server. We got it into SQL Server, and from SQL Server we got it into Power BI. Do you understand right now? So once it is live on my YouTube channel, you see it on my TikTok page. I'll post the link to the channel, to the videos. So for those of us that attended yesterday, so the gist is that we've been able to get most of these questions. We've been able to answer most of these questions, which is we've gotten some of the metrics, the total discharges, the average daily discharge rate, the average length of stay. So the next thing we are trying to move into is importance, any other importance analysis that we can add to our project. That is the next stage we are trying to move into. Any important analysis we can add to our project. And also, after that, we'll be looking at if there's a relationship between futures or all the metrics. So, for example, we can compare if there's any relationship between average daily discharge rate and average length of stay. We can compare if there's any relationship between the two metrics. So, guys, let's like the live and share to the people who believe it will be beneficial to. Let's like the live. Thank you so much. And if you are just joining, you are just the live is all about helping people to build their own project. So you get to understand how you can build your own project from scratch. So we've done 2 days ago. We've done for 2 days now. So this is the third day, and hopefully we'll be able to finish it today. And for people that have missed it, the previous live session will be on my YouTube channel. To understand right now. So now we have been able to answer total discharges, average daily discharge rate, average length of stay. So the next thing we'll be looking at is other important analysis. So if we check our Power BI, and we'll look at our data. So looking at our data, let me just move this a bit so that people can see. So looking at our data, we will do some visual inspection again. So for example, there's something we call data dictionary. Data dictionary is just to give us the definition of all the features. Features are the same thing as column. All the columns we have in our data, that is the work of data dictionary. So sometimes in the real world, you might not get anything called data dictionary. So they will just introduce you to the data warehouse or the database and say and let you know this is the database they are using. So it is left for you to find a way to understand some of the columns, some of the features. So for example now, this column, the first one we have this medical record number. So it allows us to identify each patient record. And also we have the date of admission, date of discharges, we have the age, we have the gender, we have the rural, that is the region, something like maybe is it urban or rural. We have type of admission, which can be either outpatient or emergency. And you might be wondering, how did I get to know something like this? We got the data from Kaggle. So if we go to Kaggle and we look at the data again, sometimes you see the definition. This is the data from Kaggle. So this is the data from Kaggle. And if you look at it, you will see some context and where the data is gotten from. And another thing again is that if you click on columns, they will give some explanation of what all these things are all about. Do you understand right now? So also, if you look at the other side, there are additional data you can use to maybe enhance this. But for now, like we said, we are focusing on discharges only. So that is why we are using this data. Do you understand right now? So if you want more information on this data, you can come to Kaggle and read about the information and everything like that. So, the next thing, what we are trying to look at is see if we can bring out another kind of analysis. So, the other thing we can be looking at, is that can we look at what is the distribution of discharges, maybe if we look at by age group. We can look at the age group of our patients and see if you can group them, if you can look at the discharges by age group. So if you look at our data right now, we see that we have something called age. We have age column in our data. This is the age column in our data. We have the age column in our data, but we don't have the age group in our data. If you check all the data sets, all the columns in the data set, there's no age group. So this is where data transformation comes into play. So in the real world, you won't be having everything given to you. So you have to understand how to do some manipulation. And to do some manipulation, we have this age. We then have to group them into age group. Age group is something some people also call age bracket. Some people also call it age bracket. And the way it works is that we can look at what is the minimum age we have in this data set and what is the maximum age we have in this data set. So let's say, for example, we have the minimum age of, let's say, 5 years old, and we have the maximum age of like 150 years old. Then we have to break it down into grouping. And we can say, okay, we want to group from age of 5 to age of 15 together to be a particular group. Or let's say we want to group age of 5 to age of 12 to be a particular group. We want to group the age of 12 to age of 19 to be a particular group. Let's say age of 5 to age of 12, we can say maybe children. And from 13 to like 19, we can say maybe teenagers. So from 20 to like maybe 35, you can say maybe youth or middle age or something like that. So from all those kind of grouping now, we'll be able to see what is the distribution of discharges. Are we discharging more children? Are we discharging more middle-aged people? Are we discharging, this kind of analysis now, it is not something that it will be written for you. You as a data analyst should have something like an intuition that will come to you. And how it comes is that by doing more practice and also trying to understand the data you have with you. So that is how we can look at age group. Another thing we can look at is that maybe discharges by gender. Are we discharging? We have the gender here now. We have female and male. Are we discharging more females? Are we discharging more males? Do you understand right now? So we can look at that kind of analysis. Another one we can look at is that we have the rural here. Rural, we can see, if you look at this rural, we have only two categories. We have the R and U. So R means rural, U means urban. So the categories that we have some patients that are coming from rural area to the hospital we are looking at, and we have some patients that are coming from urban area to the hospital we are looking at. So we can then look at it that are we discharging more people from urban area or from rural area? So all those kind of analysis, the way it ends is that they can look at what kind of healthcare package would they give to them, or after discharges, what kind of healthcare package can they give to them, or what kind of facilities can they give to them. So, and if you look at age grouping also, let's say we are not discharging, we are discharging very less elderly people. Let's say we are discharging very less elderly people. So it can translate to stakeholders to say, okay, those elderly people, they don't have people that will take care of them at home, or they don't have any family member with them. That's why it is difficult to discharge them. But we can't discharge them and they are occupying bed in the hospital. So what is the next thing we are going to do in that kind of situation? If we can't discharge them and they are occupying bed in the hospital, what is the next action we are going to take? So in some advanced country, what they do is that they then like have something called aftercare package. Like they will have another facility where they will move them to. Do you understand right now? So the person is fit, the person is fit and healthy, but we cannot discharge them because there's nowhere for them to go. So the next thing is that they find another facility for them. Maybe they build a care home for them and say, okay, these people are fit and healthy, discharge them into this care home so that it will free up bed space for people that are coming in to join. Do you understand right now? So those are the kind of analysis we do, and those are the kind of insights it will give for you. So all those things now, it's by inspecting your data, you then start to understand, okay, I can take these features or take this column and see what I can do. So for now, what I would like to do is just take the age group, the age column, and see if I can then bring age group to, if I can get a grouping, age grouping from the age column. So, and how to do that, I can't just wake up and say, this is how I want to do the age grouping. The first thing that happens is that you and your stakeholders, like I said, in the real world, the way this analysis is to bridge the gap between what you are learning in your bootcamp and what actually happened in the real world. So in the real world, you and your stakeholders, we have meetings. There will be meetings, there will be discussion. This is how we want to group people. Do you understand right now? This is how we want to group people. Are we grouping from age 5 to 10, age 5 to 12 as children, or age 5 to 13 as children? And are we grouping from 13 to 19 as teenagers? Or, there will be some kind of discussion around that. And another thing again is that what they can look again is that what is government's definition around all this grouping? When it comes to age grouping, what is government definition about age grouping? So in your environment, they can say from age of 5 to age of 16, those are children. Do you understand right now? Because this grouping also matters. When somebody is admitted to the hospital, they use that age to say, okay, we are taking these people to children's ward because you are less than 17. You are going to the children's ward. If you are 17 and above, you are going to the adult ward. All those kind of grouping has to be what you and your stakeholders will agree on. Not that you yourself, you just come and say, okay, this is how I'm grouping it. But if it is something you are building for a portfolio project, sometimes if all these things are not defined by your stakeholders and anything like that, you as a data analyst can bring a suggestion and say, okay, this is how I want this grouping to be. And you have a meeting, you deliberate on it. And most of the time, the way you can get the grouping, it's about statistics. Do you understand right now? There's something about statistics where we do histogram. So if you don't have an understanding of that, you can also use AI now. Like I used to tell people, most of all these things, there's no cramming. You just have to have a thought process. And when you have a thought process, you do research around it. And the best way to do everything now is that instead of, trying to Google search a lot of materials, you can talk to AI and you discuss. So for this, our data right now, there's no age grouping in our data. When we look at all the data now, there's no age grouping, but we have the age column, which we can use for age grouping. So what I would suggest is that we can talk to ChatGPT about it. Let me just bring it up. Where is the ChatGPT? Don't know where do I have it. So we have used it to yesterday. We used it to get calculation of average discharge rate when we were doing the calculation yesterday. So we use it to do average discharge rate, and we also made some Google search on how to do the average discharge rate. So because most of all these metrics and calculation, you don't need to cram anything. And if there's no if you don't have an understanding of something, it's just by going to Google and search something, make some research. Because in the real world, it is not about it's not like the way it is in class where they'll give you an exam or they'll give you a question and there's an expected answer you should bring back. In the real world, is either there's a logical yes or there's a logical no. So the answer has to be logically yes or the answer has to be logically no. It cannot be totally no. It cannot be totally yes. So if the answer is going to be no, why is it going to be no? If the answer is going to be yes, why is it going to be yes? So it doesn't have to be like this is the expected answer. That is not the way it works because a lot of factors are into play. So that is why I kind of introduced this mindset of do your own research, go to your stakeholders, discuss with them, because no matter what you want to do, somebody has already done something on it, or what you are trying to do, the new thing you are trying to bring into the system, you will build on another person's platform. Do you understand right now? You will build on another person's platform. That is why when you look at tech devices or tech products, you always see version 2, version 3. So there's always an improvement in everything. So that is the way you should also work. So now what we want to use our ChatGPT to do is to look at grouping. So before we ask ChatGPT to give us grouping, we have to know what is the oldest age and what is the youngest age in our data set. So if we look at our data set right now, we can see that the youngest age we have here is the age of 4. And if you scroll down a bit, the oldest age we have here is the age of 110. It's the age of 110. So how am I going to group this thing? So it's just a simple prompt I'll give to ChatGPT. It's just a simple prompt. Just give ChatGPT a simple prompt. So I'm continuing with the chart we have yesterday. So I can just say I have an age column with the minimum age of 4 and maximum age and max age of 110. How can I group this? So by giving it this prompt now, it will start giving you different options. So right now, it has split them into 11. The first option now, it said equal interval grouping. So which is like every 13 years. So which is logical. So from age of 4 to 10, 11 to 20. So that is like interval grouping. So let me look at the second one. It says life stage grouping. So this life stage grouping now, it has grouped them from age of 4 to 10 to be early childhood, age of 11 to 17 to be adolescence, 18 to 35 to be young adult, 36 to 55 to be middle age, senior adult 55 to 75, elderly 79 to 90, and the other one again, advanced elderly 91 to 110. So there's another one again that's saying, okay, you can also define custom, okay, that's custom grouping. So everything that I said now, I think the one that I'll be going with is this life stage grouping. So guys, let's like the live. And we have our live goal. Please let's support. So this is what I will be going with now, the life stage grouping. You know, I already explained something like this, that you can maybe from age of 10 to 4 to 12, you say there are maybe children, and from 13 to 7 or 19. So this one now it has changed it. So if I look at the life stage grouping now, I have how many group? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I think I have 7 groupings. 7 grouping, which is not bad. But what I can do again is that I can copy this. I want to just have 5 groups alone. I just want to have 5 groups alone. So 7 is just looking too much for me. So I can copy that again and ask ChatGPT to make it into 5 groups. Make that into 5 groups. So now it has come back with something more interesting now. 4 to 17, those are children. You say here you use case function. So 4 to 17, those are children. 18 to 35, young adults. Middle-aged adults, 36 to 55. Older adults, 56 to 75. Elderly, 76 to 110. So I think I like this one better. So the reason why we are following ChatGPT is that, we are building a project. If it is in the real world, all this definition would be what you and your stakeholders will agreed on. So it might be what is the policy for your hospital or what is the policy for your area. Do you understand right now? So every country has the way they group the age. Do you understand now? So, and all this grouping of age, maybe where category of young children, category of adults or elderly, it has to do with something we call consent age. So some people believe that their consent age is 16, that when you are 16 years old, you can make your decision. So people like that, they might not put them in children's ward. Do you understand right now? But for now, since our data, we don't have something like that. We are our own stakeholder. So we are using ChatGPT to brainstorm. So, and even in the real world, you can brainstorm like this. The most important thing is that don't upload your company's data into ChatGPT. Do you understand now? Because of GDPR, data protection policy. So you have to be careful. So right now, it has given us all this, that for 4 to 17 young children, 18 to 35, 36 to 55, 55 to 75, 76 to 110. So I have my grouping already. So what I'll do is go back to my Power BI. So once I go back to my Power BI, I'll go back, I'll click on Home. And right now, we can do the transformation. There are 2 things we need to understand when it comes to Power BI. We can do the transformation in the table view. Do you understand right now? We can do the transformation in the table view, but sometimes if you make transformation in the table view, it doesn't show when you go back to the Power Query. So there's an engine. There's a data analytics engine in Power BI, which is called the Power Query. So if you do your transformation in table view, it might not show in the Power Query. Most of the time, it doesn't show in the Power Query. And if you need those transformation again to make another transformation, then you have to redo everything from the scratch again. So that is why I do most of my transformation in Power Query. So to do this transformation right now, if we click on the transform data button at the top, so it will bring our Power Query for us. So once we have our Power Query, the next thing is, in the Power Query at the top, we'll see something at the top, we'll see add column. So once we click on add column, we then see different options to add column. So it's either we duplicate the column or something like that. So what I want to do is conditional column. Do you understand right now? So if I click on conditional column, there will be an option that will come up. And this option now, I have to then define the grouping. So I can change the column name. I'm building another column right now that will contain our age grouping. So I can change the column name to age group. So once I change it to age group, so I will then supply the column I want to transform from. I'm transforming from the age group, and then using the operator now. So the first thing is that I'll do less than or equals to the age of the first age we have here. If we look at the first age, it is 4 to 17. So anything less than or equals to 17, we just make it 4 to 17. So let me see, 4 to 17. So let me just write it down so I don't start, coagulating between 2 stuff. So if I go to my Power BI again, so This one now, anything less than or equals to 17. So their output, I want them to be 4 to 17. 4 to 17. So the next one again is that add another clause, age, the age again. So the other category now is anything that is less than or equals to 35, because the next category is 18 to 35. So that would be 18 to 35. So add another one again, the age again. Anything that is less than 55, less than or equals to, it is less than or equals to 55. So that would be 36 to 55. 36 to 55. And the next one again, the age, anything less than or equals to, the next grouping we have is 56 to 75. 56 to 75. So it will be 56 to 75. So any other thing, or I can add another clause so that it captures that. Sorry, it meant to be age. So less than or equals to 110. So it will be 76 to 110. So if I click on OK now, this column should be created. Yes, I'm using Power BI. This is Power BI. So we have our age grouping now. And for us to be sure that we have done the right thing, if we filter the age of our patients, if we filter the age, let's filter to 18. So let's see what we have as our age grouping. So we can see that we have the right age grouping, which is 18 to 35. So if we filter to 35, we should also be having our age grouping to be 35. I'm not sure we have 35. Okay, we have 35 years age here. So if we check our grouping, it's still 18 to 35. So the data is on Kaggle. I can't post the link to the data inside the chart. So I'm not sure. I tried to do that yesterday. So let me do it this way. You just do some editing. So what I've done is that I've put the dots as a word. So you see, let me see, can it work? Okay, yes, that is the link to the data. So just change the .com to normal.com. Do you understand right now? So just change the .com to normal.com. So I've put the link into the comment section. So that is the link to the data set. So that is how to do the validation of what we have done. We can see that if you have a patient that is age of 18, the age group will still be 18 to 35. If you have a patient that is age of 35, the age group will still be 18 to 35. So anybody within that age range now is falling within 18 to 35. So we are sure that is working. So and another important thing is that if we come to our Power BI, you can see that we have this applied step. So it is important that you should always rename this applied step. So for now, I'll cancel this filter because I just used that to this thing. So what I've done in this cell, in this place, is that I've added a conditional column to create our age group. So that conditional column, I'll just rename it. I'll just rename it and say added conditional column age group. So the reason why we are doing this is that in the real world, you will not be working alone. You might be working on something and probably you are off or you are sick and somebody wants to continue your work, or you are not available and somebody needs to, take your work and make some changes to it. They've seen your apply step, but they don't know what each step is talking about. But if you have, label every step correctly. So it will be easy for them to, back track and maybe troubleshoot whatever is going on with your Power BI or DAX query. Because sometimes if you have a very large data set, you discover that it will take some time for the data to load, and if sometimes it will run into an error. So when there's an error, it might be something, maybe there's a data type that is not correct again, or something else has happened somewhere. So it's by naming your applied step very well that will allow other people to troubleshoot in your absence. Do you understand right now? So it's important to always do the applied steps. So guys, let's like the live and share to our friends, please. Let's like the live. And we have our live goal. Nobody has really done anything. So guys, let's try and support. So we have created our age group right now, and we have renamed the apply step to added conditional column age group. So it will help anybody that's trying to see what we have done to be able to follow up. So after that, let's close this and go back to the report view. Thank you, John. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So the next thing we are going to do right now, we still have this somewhere here. So let's bring our age group. Let's bring a table to see our age group. Sorry, no. So bringing our table, we go to the data, we bring in age group. So we can see our age grouping. And if we add total discharges to this now, we can see the distribution of discharges around the age group. So we can see the distribution of discharges around the age group. Thank you, Lara. Welcome to the live. So it's usually from 9 or sometimes 10 p.m. So right now I'm moving it to the weekend. So it will be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So we have our age group and we can see the distribution. So now that we have this, let's try and make our dashboard look presentable a bit before we continue some other analysis on it. So the first thing is that we need to give a title to our dashboard. And how to give the title, let's insert a text box and let's just call this Hospital Discharge Analysis. So let's call this Hospital Discharges Analysis Dashboard. So Hospital Discharges Analysis Dashboard. So let's increase this a bit and make it bold. So let me make this like 24 and make this bold. So this is the title of our dashboard. So the next thing is that we have our total discharges. So let's change this one to total discharges. So we come to the visualization. We try to format it. We click on the format button. So once you click on the format button, yes, this is Power BI. This is Power BI. Thanks so much, Maki. Thanks for supporting. Thanks so much, Maki. So this is Power BI. And now we have our total discharges. So we are just going to change the title. So first thing first, let me bring it to this side so that we can see as we are making the changes. So the first thing first is that we are going to off the category label. That is what is underneath it. And we change the title, we put on the title and change the title to total discharges, and we try and format this as possible. So total discharges. So let me change the fonts to something interesting for me. So let me do this Trebuchet. So let me bold it and make it center, and also the background. Let me give the background of this. No, that's too much. Let's do something like this or something like this. So that is the next one. The visual, the call out value, I'll also change it to this trebuchet, and that should be okay. So let me do something else. Effect. I just want to do visual border around it and round it by 10%. So this is the card view now. So I have my total discharges right now. I have it here. So I also want to do the same formatting for the rest of these KPIs. So this is our average daily discharge rate. Thank you, Joy. I really appreciate. So this is our average daily discharge rate. So what I can do is that I can use this one at the top to format what is underneath here. So if I click on the home button and I click on the format painter, so there's usually a format painter at the top here. So once I click on format painter and I select the one I want to reformat again. So this is the average daily discharge rate that I want to reformat. So by doing that, the only thing I just need to go back to is to change the value. So I don't like the way it is showing 13.05%. I don't like that. I just want it to show a whole number, which is 13%. So I'll go to the visualization again, format visual. And after that, the call out value, the title, that's what I need to do now. So I just need to do the title. Every other things will be there. So the title is average daily discharge rate. So it will be the average daily discharge rate. Daily discharge rate. And it is called the ADDR. Sometimes they call it ADDR. So it's just an abbreviation. So you can put whatever abbreviation you also like. ADDR. So the next thing again is to ensure that it is not showing the decimal place. So to do that, I would change it to no decimal. So make it 0 decimal. So we have 13% right now. So we have that. We have our average daily discharge rate. So the next thing again is this. So yeah, I have a YouTube channel where I upload this live too. So once it is available, I will upload it to the YouTube channel. So the name of the channel is 9 to 5 Data. 9 to 5 Data. So that is our total discharge. That is our average daily discharge rate, and that is our average length of stay. We also need to do the same thing for average length of stay. So the other thing again is to format average length of stay to that. So we'll just give it the title average length of stay, or we say ALOS, which is the average length of stay. So one thing again is that it doesn't really make sense to leave it in decimal place. Do you understand right now? You cannot say somebody has spent 7.6 days. How do you measure 7.6 days in reality? Do you understand right now? So all this now, if you are making something a whole number, you should know the reason why you are making it a whole number. If you are making something in decimal places, you should know there's a reason why you are leaving it in decimal places. So because if we are measuring average length of stay and we are putting it at 7.6 or 7.8, how do you measure that one in the real sense. How can you say, okay, somebody has spent 7.8 days in the hospital? It doesn't really make sense. So the best thing is just to round it to the nearest whole number. So we do the same thing again, average length of stay, and we change it to decimal, to 0 decimal places. So this automatically changed to 8 days, which, is really making sense now to say, okay, somebody has spent 8 days in the hospital. So guys, let's like the live and share. Thank you so much, Afolabi. Thank you for sharing. So let's like the live and share. And we also have our live goal. Nobody's doing anything. So after that, we just need to make some rearrangements. So this is our total discharges. Let me just center it a bit so that we see the arrangements going on. So this is our total discharges right now at this side. And we have our average daily discharge rate. Let me put this one here, average daily discharge rate. And we have our average length of stay. So the next thing, again, is to see the distribution we have been talking about. To see the distribution that we have been talking about. You remember we created age group the other time. So the age group we created the other time, we can bring them in now. So this is the age group we created the other time. So this is the age group we created the other time. We can change this into something interesting. So we can use let's use this kind of visual. Let's use these bar charts. So let me use this. So for now, we are looking at the overall data set right now. So it's telling us that we discharge more of people within the age of 56 to 75, and we are discharging less of children, which is age of maybe 4 to 17. So most of the time, all these things might be due to the fact that maybe we are admitting less amount of children also. So, and the other thing again is that the other factor again is that we might look at it that, okay, maybe the counting is only the major data collected was not in the children section. It might be in the adult section, and we have some of them that are filtered into the old data set. So we'll still get a better understanding of all this when we start adding some filters to our dashboard. So right now we can maybe do some transformation to this also. So to do some transformation to this, we'll go to the visualization pane and we select the format visual. So when we are visualizing this, so the title, we are going to change the title. But for now, let's leave the title. We are going to change the title. So after that, again, let me do some effects. The visual, so the x-axis. Let me change it to this. This one, where's that tributary MX? Okay. So bold, and make it 10. So I'll off the title for the x-axis. So the next thing again is the y-axis. The value, I'm changing it to this tributary MX 10 or 12. So change the color to black so that it comes out, and then I'll also have the title for that. So this is distribution. So the next thing again is the grid lines. I'm turning off the grid lines, so I don't need the grid lines, just to make the visual needs. I don't need the grid line. So after that, we have this age distribution right now. So this is our filter. So we are going to add a filter at the top here. So, and it's going to be something drop down. It's going to be a drop down filter. So let's change it to a drop down filter. The visual, so the visual settings, the slicer settings. So drop down. And after that, we can change the fonts to the one we like. Tributary MS. And for the value, So we have that. So for the value, we change it to trebuchet mx. And so right now, if we click on filters now, let's say for example, we click on April 2017. So we can see that we are having different distribution right now. We are having the total discharges for April 2017 is 315. Average length of stay is 6, and we have this distribution. If we change to another one, let's say April 2019, we're having different distributions. So that is the way it's changing. So one thing again that we need to now take care of is that if you look at our month here, we can see that it's not following each other chronologically. So we can see that we have April 2017, which normally it should start from January 2017, from January to February, March, but now it's looking like it's doing alphabetical order. It's starting from April, August, December. It's not following each other chronologically. So, and this is one of the issues you'll be facing in your data. That is why I've said that we should have a different date format, date model in our data model, so that that is where we'll be making all this kind of transformation. Do you understand right now? So that is where we'll be making all this kind of transformation. So if we go to our table view, and we click on our calendar table. So this is what I'm trying to explain to us. So this is what I'm trying to explain to us. The month, year should follow like this: January 2017 and February, March, and stuff like that, so that it will allow us to have a chronological order in the filter. So in order to do this, we need to create another column for this. And the reason why we are creating another column is that so that we'll use that new column to sort the month order, so that the month order can be in chronological order, the way we want it to be. And to achieve that, it's usually a tricky one. And to achieve that, we are going to just write a simple DAX query. So we are going to create a new column. And the new column will be a date column. You understand right now? The new column will be a date column. So I'll just name it maybe sort column. I'll name it sort column, so that, because I want to use it to sort the date. So like I said, we should try and, as much as possible, to be giving meaningful names to whatever we are doing, and make sure that it's something that when somebody reads it, or when somebody tries to replicate our work, they'll be able to make something meaningful out of it. So what I want to do is then create a date. I can also use these dates to sort them, but if you look at this date now, it's not starting from it's not what I really want, because I want to have January 2017 to be just 1st of January 2017. So everywhere there's January 2017 to be 1st of January 2017. Anywhere there's February 2017, it will be 1st of February 2017, so that it will be easier for us to sort this. So for me to do that now, I'm going to create a variable. So I'll just name it variable, and I'll name it the base date. And if I'm naming it the base date, what I want to do now is get the date, use the date function first. I want to get this date, and to get this date, I want to get what I want to get is the year, month, and the month day. So for me, I'll do year from the date, from the date column. Why is it not coming up? From the date column, okay. So from the date column, so after that, I'm getting the month again from the date column also. And then, like I said, it will be the 1st of every month. So I'll just do comma and put 1, because I want it to be the 1st of every month. So this should, why is it throwing an error? Okay, there's a close bracket here. So this should then return the base date. So hopefully, okay. So what I will then do, now that I have the base date, so if I filter this to, let's say I filter this to February 2017. So all the dates here now should only be 1st of February 2017, even though the dates at the other side are different days in February. So the reason why I'm doing that is that, do you mentor one-on-one? Yes, I do that. Just send me a DM and we'll discuss on that. So the reason why I've done that is for me to be able to use this sort column to sort the months here so that we get it in chronological order in our filter. So let me undo this filter. So clear filter. So what I'll do is that I'll select the month date and then come to the top here where it says sort column by. Then I'll select sort column. This column that I've created. So if I go back to my report view now, and I check my month here, you will see that my month here is now starting from January. So it's now starting from January, February, March, April. So that is how it will finish 2017. So after 2017, it starts from this 2018 again, January, February. That is how it keeps going. So guys, let's like the live. Thank you for the support. So that is how it keeps going. So the reason why we have this month year filter there is that our stakeholders, they will be looking at the whole analysis on a monthly basis. So sometimes you might have a dashboard that will be serving some a purpose of daily basis. Some will be weekly basis, but this one now is a monthly based dashboard. So if there's anything they want to check, they will look at it for the last 1 month or for the last 2 months or the last 3 months. Do you understand right now? So that is the concept behind that. So for now, we have this hospital, we have this total discharges, average length of stay, average daily discharge rate, and then we have total discharges by age group. So initially, I was saying we are looking at discharges by age group right now. What about if we can also add gender to this? So what about if we can also add gender to this so that we'll be looking at two metrics together now. We'll be looking at two features together. We'll be looking at discharges by age group and also be looking at what are the genders, what is the gender distribution. Even though we are having 56 to 75 in December 2017, we have more 56 to 75 years old being discharged. How many of them are female? How many of them are male? Do you understand right now? So we can add something to this to just make it more interesting. So the way to add something to this is that once you click on that visualization, that bar chart, you would see under the visualization pane, you will see something like legend. So we can add the gender into our legend. So when we add the gender into our legend, so let's add gender into our legend. So then it starts splitting it into two. So we can see that we have 56 to 75. But from now, we can see the distribution of male and female in that 56 to 75. Do you understand right now? We can see the distribution of male and female in that 56 to 75. Another thing that will make it interesting is that if you turn on the data label, so you see how interesting it is now when we put on the data label. So in this thing now, we can see the amount of male and the amount of female that are being discharged in each age category. Do you understand right now? So that is what we are trying to do. Another interesting analysis we can break out here. So let's just format this chart and we add it to part of the visualization we have, and we move on to the next one. So formatting this right now, so we'll go back to our visualization and format pane. So what I just want to do is just change the title first. So if I change the title, so this time around I can give it an interesting title and say maybe distribution of discharges. Let me be writing it down so that I don't forget. Distribution distribution of discharges by age group, by age group and gender. So by age group and gender. So that is the title. So let me just format it a bit. Tributary MS. So make it bold. Background. Let me give it this background. Let me see. Yes. So center it and let me do some effect on it so that it has a visual border and rounded corner of 10. So we have this right now. We have this right now. So once we have this, the other kind of analysis we can do, this is what we have on our dashboard right now. So the other kind of analysis we can do, if you check this is our spreadsheet, the PowerPoint presentation we are using. It said, can we identify if there's any relationship between features or something like that? So can we identify if there's any relationship between features? So we can try and see if there's any relationship between the average daily discharge rate and the average length of stay. Do you understand right now? We can try and find a relationship between them. So for us to find a relationship between them, what we need to do is to know which visualization or which graph will allow us to find relationship between two features. And by knowing that, it will be easy for us to, replicate that in Power BI. So if we go to Power BI, and we'll go to what we have now. We have our average length of stay. We have our average daily discharge rate. So we can try and see if we can get a relationship between them. So to do that, we'll use our scatter plot. Scatter plot is the plot that allows us to get relationship between two visuals, two numerical values. So our average daily discharge rate is a numerical value. Average length of stay is a numerical value. So to bring them together, in this place right now, I would put our average daily discharge rate in the y-axis and average length of stay in the x-axis. So once I do that right now, you see that there's nothing interesting in this thing that I've done. So let me make it bold a bit. You see that there's nothing interesting in anything I've done. We cannot say, okay, we just have a simple dot in the center. So it's not showing anything. So we need to just do some formatting on the chart. Do you understand right now? We need to do some formatting on the chart. And where it gets tricky right now is that if you go on the chart, if you go on the pane and we turn on the ratio line, you see that it's showing us some kind of trend, but that is not what we want to look at. So we have this again. So let's do formatting first before we go to the ratio line. So let's do some little formatting so that you understand better before we go to ratio line. So for this one now, let's clean it up a bit. The effect, the visual background, I'll first clear the grid lines. I don't need the grid lines. There's nothing I want to do with the grid lines for now, or let me leave it. So let me leave the grid line. The dotted line is star. So for now, we don't have anything interesting. So for us to bring something interesting now, we can look at this relationship and say, what if you had another category to it to bring out the beauty of it? The other category we can add to it is that we have been looking at age grouping. So let's add age grouping to the legend again and see what this will give us. So if you go to the visual, let me click on it, and under the build visualization, so if you add our legend, the age grouping, Where's the age group? So we kind of start to see a pattern right now in the age group. See the way I added age group to it now, since we started having some changes in this place right now. So the other thing we can do right now, is that there's a trend popping up right now. We can see that there's a trend popping up right now. So I don't know if people can see it, or do you want me to zoom it a bit? So there's a trend popping up right now, and how we can review the trend in this is by going to, there's these settings here in Power BI. You see further analysis to your visuals. When you click on further analysis to your visuals, you see turn on the trend line. So once you turn on the trend line, you can see we have a trend right now. And what this is telling us, you can see there's a line right now. So what this is telling us is that there's a negative correlation between the average daily discharge rate and average length of stay. There's a negative correlation. And what is translating for us is that the higher the average daily discharge rate, the lower the length of stay. The average length of stay. The higher the average daily discharge rate, the lower the average length of stay. So what is now telling us, if you're going to explain this to stakeholders, you can explain to them that if you want to have what the stakeholders are targeting is that they should be having a higher average daily discharge rate, and they should be having lesser people staying in the hospital. The way they can achieve high average daily discharge rate is by having lower average length of stay. Do you understand now? Because the longer they stay, the lesser people will be discharging. That is just the simple explanation. The longer people stay in the hospital, the lower the number of people will be discharging. That is the simple explanation. So we then have to find a way to then to paint this story better, like do some insight analysis into it. That is why we have added our age group to it, to see how each age group are impacting the average length of stay. To understand now, in this visual now, we are comparing what is the relationship between average daily discharge and average length of stay. And we can see that they have a negative correlation. That is, the more people we discharge, that means we are having lesser people staying in the hospital. The longer people are staying in the hospital, the lower the number of people will be discharging. So that is the meaning of the negative correlation between them. That is, the longer people are staying in the hospital, the lower the number of people will be discharging, or the lower the rate of discharges will be having. So we can then do a deeper analysis into it. That is why we have added our age group. And if you over on some of these age group now, so we can see that for this age group of 18 to 35, they have their own average length of stay of 9. That is, people that are age of 18 to 35, for the month of December 2017, you can see we are filtered to the month of December 2017. So for the month of December 2017, they stayed averagely 9 days in the hospital. So, and they have average daily discharge rate of 12%. So if you look at these people now that are at the bottom, that is the people that stayed the longest, the category that stayed the longest in the hospital now, it is the age group of 76 to 110 age. So they have average length of stay of 10 days, and they have average daily discharge rate of 10%. So you can be thinking that the average daily discharge rate of 10% and 12%, there are no more difference. So that can be due to the population of the age group in the hospital. But what is important here is that if stakeholders are looking at it at this one now, they are looking at it that we have the people of age of 76 to 110 staying 10 days in the hospital. So they are staying longer than usual. So why should they be staying 10 days? So they start to then investigate what can they do to make sure that they are discharging more of these people, or they reduce the number of days they stay in the hospital. So that is where the intervention program will then come in and say, okay, maybe if we discharge them to care homes, or we find a family member that can take them in instead of abandoning them in the hospital. Do you understand right now? And if you look at the top here now, If you look at the top here now, we see that age group of 14 to 17, they have an average length of stay of 7%, and they have average daily discharge rate of 14. So they are spending lesser time in the hospital, and we are discharging them at a higher rate. So this one can be because they are kids, so they have their family around them taking care of them. So once they see that they are responding to treatment, or they are fit to be discharged, they then get discharged immediately because they have a family member they will go to. Do you understand now? So this is what I'm explaining now. This is part of what we call data storytelling. You just make the analysis, and when you are presenting this to stakeholders, you should be able to explain why this is happening, or what kind of insights can we get from this because of what is happening on the dashboard. So this is for the month of December. So if we change it to, let's say we change it to November or September 2017, we still have a different intervention, or we have a different values. So you see, as everything change. But we need to be paying attention to something. If that is September 2017, we still see that at the bottom of the graph, we still have this same age group again. We are not discharging them. They are staying longer than usual. So it start to become a pattern. So if we look at maybe July, you still see the same thing again is happening. So it start to become a pattern. June, you see now that this 76 to 110 are still at the bottom again. So it start to become a pattern. That is where intervention schemes come in, like I've explained before. So that is we have answered. So let me just format this one. So let me format this graph, and then we will arrange it into the, let's close this. No. So if we format this, let me just format this. The next one is the visualization, the x-axis. I'll change the x-axis to the title to average. Okay, it's okay the way it is. And let me change the value, the text font, and do this. Make it bold and make it black. So the title again, just change the title, make it bold, make it black. So the other one, which is the y-axis, so the y-axis, just change the y-axis to the same thing, bold and black for the value, bold and black. So let me just change the title to ADDR, and the general one. So the title is the relationship between I'm meant to be using capital letter. Relationship between ADDR and ALOS so using age group, so this one now, bold background, center background, so effects, visual border. So we have this right now. So the next thing is just to format everything. So let me bring this a bit. So let me just center this around here for now. So that is what we have for now. So before we move on, is there anybody with any question? If you have any question, you can send in your request so that we tackle the question before we move on.
Hello, how are you, sir?
Giving a feedback, I'm good. Okay. Can you mute? Let me try and mute you. I don't know why the thing is giving a feedback. So the question is, are you if you are not good in mathematics, can you do data analysis? Actually, the mathematics you need for data analysis are just basic statistics, which are the mean, median, mode, and a bit of standard deviation. So everything we have done here now, we have not done anything where we used any advanced calculation or anything. So what we have done here is just simple average. You see, everything I've been mentioning since morning: average daily discharge rate, average length of stay, distribution of this and that, and this and this and this. They are just basic mathematics anybody can understand. So for data analysis, you don't need any advanced mathematics. So if you have a basic statistical mathematics and you have this algebra, like you can do just addition and subtraction, board mass, the way we do board mass or pid mass or whatever they call it now. So you can do that, then you are good to go. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for joining the live. So do you have anyone with any question again? So if you do have a question, you can send in your request before we go on. So if there's no question, then we can continue to move on. Okay. So this is the whole dashboard right now. So we are trying to fit all this into the screen. So, and it's a bit tricky. So the other thing you can do is that if you go to your canvas settings, when you go to your canvas settings, you can set the area. So make it custom and just increase the width. So we increase the width a bit. so that we have size to be able to fit this and this together. So let's increase the width again. So your question reads that he said, can one get a remote data job role working from home and still get sponsorship? Yeah, it's a bit tricky because I can't really answer that. The sponsorship part of it will depend on what the company, whether the company is going to offer that or not. But you can get a fully remote data job. But the sponsorship part would depend on it will depend on the company. They can decide to offer that or might not offer that. So I can't answer the question about sponsorship. So canvas settings, I'm trying to increase this. Let me do more size. So for now, if we go back to our presentation, our PowerPoint, we see that we've been able to answer some questions. We've answered the total discharges, average daily discharge rate, average length of stay, important analysis. In our important analysis, we've looked at what is the distribution of discharges by the age group. We've done that. And if you look at the gender, we've also done that together with the gender. So another thing is identifying relationship between the features. We have done that by identifying if there's a relationship between average daily discharge rate and average length of stay. So the next thing is that he said if you can add more insight, we can also look at what is the discharges by the day of the week. Which day of the week are they discharging more people? Which day of the week are they discharging more people? So if we look at that, so Ola said looking for a data job but still struggling to secure one. Yeah, you need to just understand what's your struggle right now. Is it to get job or is it to pass interview? Do you understand right now? You need to be specific. So the other thing is that we can try to look at this relationship now. We can try to look at more analysis and do something like maybe for day of the week. So if we bring in a new, let me just use this one so that we don't have to be reformatting all every time again. So this, and then I'm just going to change the axis to from age group and remove the gender and then turn it to day of the week, day name. So we can see the distribution right now. You can see the distribution for each day of the week. So thank you, Mr. Adekolu. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining. So we can see the day of the week, and by doing that, another thing we can add to this again is that we can add the gender to this place. Let's just add gender to it and see what it will give us. So gender to this. So what we are trying to do here now is, let me just format some things here. Legend done. Legend should be on, but I don't want the title. So legend should be on, no title. Legend should be on, no title. So what we have done right now in this place, so what we have done right now in this place is looked at, let me streamline this a bit. So what we have done right now is looked at the distribution of discharges by the day of the week. Let me do the title: distribution of discharges by the day of the week. Distribution of discharges by the day of the week. Title, change it to distribution of discharges by day of the week. By day of the week. And gender. So that is that about that. So another thing again that we can do is that we can add our region to this distribution, to this dashboard, so that we can be able to see which region we are coming from. Is it from the rural area or is it from the urban area? We can also filter all these metrics to rural area or urban area. So let me just copy this and change this to rural. So I'll just rename this field to region. So if we change it to rural area or urban area, we have something different. If we change it to rural area, we have something different. So that is all we have for now. So the other thing we can do again is that in this analysis, we can add something we call the trend, because we are working with dates. We can also look at the trend of the average length of stay, and we can also look at the trend of the average daily discharge rates. And for now, before I move to that, I just want to entertain some questions in case anybody has any questions or anything they would like to ask. So if you have a question, you can send in your request for now so that I just tackle that before we move on. Good evening.
Hi, can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can hear you. Good evening. How are you?
Good evening. I'm fine.
Yeah, I can see
So,
you are here again today. I like the consistency. Thanks for joining.
thank you so much. I should appreciate you. You're, you're doing a very big favor, honestly.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Please, I want to, if you can actually retouch that aspect of the aspect you said story, data story.
Okay, the data story.
Yeah.
Okay. So you want me to re-explain that area again?
Yes, I appreciate that if you can.
Okay. So the meaning of data story is that you don't just put all these things on the dashboard. You have to put them with a meaning or a story behind your mind, so that
Okay.
the people you are talking to, they will understand what is actually going on. So let's take it for example now. Let's say, for example, you are watching a film about a technological something. Let's say, for example, maybe they are discussing about a disease. You see that they will kind of give you a story, maybe the genesis of the disease, or the people that carried the first set of people that were affected by the disease and how it got transferred to other people and stuff like that. So that is the same thing about dashboard. When you are doing an analysis, what you should have in mind is that how will I present this thing when somebody else is looking at it? They will have an understanding of what is going on. and it all starts from the kind of metrics you are looking to put on the dashboard, and also the kind of analysis you are trying to put on the dashboard, and how you bring them together. So, for example, now in our data set, we know that we have age, we have the age, we have the gender, we have other things again. So we're saying that okay, we have already calculated total discharges. What if we start looking at discharges by age? Do you understand right now? So when I look at the data, I see that I have age column. So the next thing I can do is then put those age into grouping. Do you understand right now? I put them into grouping. So in some places they have the way they will say, okay, this is how we are grouping people. Do you understand right now? So in some places they have the definition of grouping the age. Maybe from 1 year old to 17, you are still a child. From this age to the next stage, you are still a child. You understand now? So you and the stakeholders, you have this agreement on that. But for the purpose of this one, for people that have not started working or they are just building their own dashboard, and so what I did was use ChatGPT to give me this age grouping. So, and when he gave it to me, then I did discharging. I added it to the chart and looked at it by discharge. Do you understand now? And by looking at it by discharges, I can see that we are in this. This is where I filter it to now is June 2017. I can see that we are discharging less of younger, let's say children now. And something we can maybe derive from this is that maybe we are not even admitting enough of them. Do you understand right now? So this is the kind of story, like that is what we mean by storytelling. That okay, if you have a number, what can you say about the number? What can you say? Okay, this is the reason why the number is like this. So maybe we are not even admitting enough of them. Do you understand right now? So that is why we are discharging the lower number. So the people that we have discharged as the highest right now, which is 56 and 75, maybe they are the most admitted age group. So definitely most of the time they will be the most discharged age group. Do you understand right now? So, and we then added the gender to this now to be able to, group them into gender, male and female. Instead of having a different table again to build gender. So we have added the age grouping and gender together and looked it by discharges distribution. Do you understand right now? So that is for discharges distribution. So we are now looking at what is the relationship between average daily discharge rate and average length of stay. So to look at the relationship is that how does the two affect each other, or is there even a relationship between them at all? So by looking at average daily discharge rate and average length of stay, so let me first remove this. If I remove this, I have the age group there already. So if I remove the age group, I will just have a single number. Do you understand right now? And it's not telling me anything. So most of the time, I then need to say, okay, if I look at this by age grouping, what kind of story will I get from this? What kind of insight will I get from this? So I just say, okay, add age group to it. So if I add age group to it, then I start to look at, you see this age group now, I start to look at, okay, 18 to 35. We have them staying an average length of stay. We have them staying an average of 10 days. And with this trend line now, it is telling us that the higher the discharge, the average daily discharge, the lower the length of stay. That is, the interpretation is that if people are staying for a shorter period, that means we are discharging enough number of people. If we are not discharging enough number of people, that means people will be staying a longer period. Do you understand now? So another thing again is that we'll start to then look at different age group. How does this affect them? So for now, we can see that this age group of 76 to 110 now, in the June 2017, they stayed for an average of 7 days. So sometimes if you look at maybe July, let's say July, then it changes now in July. They are staying for an average of, if we over on it, 11 days. If you look at maybe August, it changes again. So every month now, because we are looking at this in month distance. So for September now, you can see them here now that they are spending an average of 10 days for the same 76 to 110 age. So if you look at If you look at November, you see now that they are still staying 9 days. So it's usually like they stay the longest most of the time. Those people now, those 76 to 10, most of the time we've looked like 3 or 4 months trend now. We see that they are usually staying the longest. So this is where the stakeholders will start making decisions. So let me unfilter this because I filtered it to one particular region. That is why it's showing. So see now, December 2017. Let me move it up from December 2017 to November 2017. They are still at the bottom. Let me change it again. October, they are still at the bottom. September, they are still at the bottom. So what insight we can get from this is that we can say, okay, maybe they don't have elderly people at home that will take care of them. Mariam, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. So maybe they don't have elderly people at home that will take care of them. Do you understand right now? So that is the kind of storytelling. So the stakeholders will then start looking at it that, okay, why are these elderly people are staying this long? So they then start to look at it that, okay,
Yeah.
what kind of intervention can we do for them?
For that solution.
Do you understand right now? And if you look at this graph again, you can see that 4 to 17
Yeah.
is at the top here. So probably 4 to 17, we categorize them as children. Do you understand right now? So maybe they have elderly people or they have their parents that will just take care of them and they say, okay, because you are fit now, let's just take you home. You don't need, we'll go and continue the remaining treatment at home. Do you understand right now? So that is about the data storytelling. You just try and look at, okay, what insights can this give us? And from there, the stakeholders will then start looking at, okay, this is what our analysts have suggested, or this is what our analyst is presenting to us. Then we need to just start making decision or taking action based on what the data is saying. And another thing again is that if we look at maybe distribution by week and by day of the week and also gender, we can look at it that, okay, Tuesday, for this September 2017, Tuesday is the highest, we discharge the highest number of people. If we change it again, it should change. August, it's still Tuesday in August, and Sunday is the lowest. So July. So what they might start looking at is that usually we are always discharging lower number of patients on Sunday, most of the time, according to the trend. So they can start looking at it that maybe there's not enough doctors on site to actually certify that, okay, this patient is fit to be discharged. Do you understand right now? So, and all this thing is just to maximize the efficiency of the hospitals, because what they need is that when people come into the emergency, can we get them bed so that they start getting treatment? It's not that people are waiting in the emergency. I will say, okay, there's no bed, because some people have been staying there for like 10 days, 15 days. They are not leaving. Do you understand now? So that is the concept of storytelling, and it all comes from understanding your data. And most of the time, understanding your data it doesn't mean that you have to go and cram your company's data. It's by, you see something you don't have an understanding, you can make research. There are a lot of people that have written research paper on maybe hospital discharges efficiency. When you read some paper, so because you are using healthcare data doesn't mean that is the only way to work. Even if you take something like e-commerce data, if you search, you see some people that have written a lot of research paper on e-commerce data. So the more you read about all those things, the more you have a better understanding of what you need to do. And even sometimes, by even attending meeting with the stakeholders, you tend to understand, because you as a data analyst, you might not have access to some in-house decision. But once your stakeholders tell you that, okay, this is what we are trying to look at, then you also start seeing the picture in a different way. Because this analysis is about discharges and we are looking at gender, age group. Do you understand right now? We are looking at gender, age group. Those are the things that we have looked at now in combination with average length of stay and discharges. Do you understand now? So have I answered your question?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh,
Thank
okay.
you so much. I get it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Mariam, thank you for the gift. Thank you for the gift. So, is there anyone with any question again? So if there's no question again, the other one we want to look at is that our average length of stay and our average daily discharge rate, we want to look at them and see how we can do some time series analysis with them to see what is the trend for the average length of stay. Is it like going up at a particular time and start dropping at another time? Do you understand right now? Same thing with our average daily discharge rate. Is it going up at a particular time and dropping at a particular time? And the way to do this is that there's a soft visualization we are going to look at, which is exactly what is used in the industry, like mostly in the healthcare industry or any industry that has to do with processes. Like they have a process that they follow and they try to measure the process very well. So we call the chart SPC chart, which for now I'll just give us an introduction of it and show us the way it looks like. If we go to our Power BI and we click on get more visuals, it will take us to the Power BI visuals. So this is where you can get access to some advanced charts or some visualizations that are not available in Power BI. So some of them they are paid and some of them are free. So if we search for SPC charts, so we should see something. Why is it not coming up? SPC chart, yes. So this is SPC chart. This is SPC chart. We have a lot of them here. So some of them are free, some of them are paid. But for the purpose of this analysis, we'll be using the one that is free. So if we click on this free one, so you can click on add on this. If you click on add, so it will automatically add to your Power BI. So this is the visualization we'll be using to do the time series analysis and see if our average length of stay is it going up or going down. And for average length of stay, what we should be targeting is that it should go down, because the lower people stay in the hospital, the more beds that we have available, and it means the more people we are discharging. And our average daily discharge rate, what we are targeting is that it should go up, because the more people we discharge, the more bed space we have on our distance. So for now, this is where I'll be stopping it so that I don't overwhelm everybody. So I'll just come with an explanation on this in the next live session. So and we only focus on the SPC chart. And once we finish the SPC chart, so this dashboard is finished finally, and you can see that we don't have anything clustered on the dashboard. We don't have anything color. Everything is neat and clean. So that is what you should be aiming for. It is not how colorful the dashboard is. It's just about what story the dashboard is telling you, what insights you can get from the dashboard. Do you understand right now? So if there's any question, I would like to entertain one or two questions, and if there's no question, we'll just call it a day at this point. So if you have a question, you can send your request.
Okay. Please, can I ask one more thing?
Yes, you can ask question.
Yesterday, somebody was asking you which is the best to start from. If it's to start from Excel or PowerPoint, so and I can't remember what you checked out, but I know you start from Excel
Yes.
to be able to work. So I want to ask, are you starting when you start from Excel like start?
Can you repeat the question again? I didn't hear you very well.
Like yesterday,
Yes.
the guy came up and was asking you for new bills. Like I just get to learn this. Where is best we start from?
Yes.
And you told him that start is best we start from Excel.
Yes.
So I want to know if we now like yesterday, you started yesterday. You start from Excel or which Excel?
Okay, where I started from, it depends on what you are trying to work on. For example, in some cases, you do some analysis in Excel and everything will end in Excel. Do you understand right now? But in some cases, most of the time, what usually happens for a data analyst that works in the company is that most of the time you have to work with the database, and from the database to maybe any visualization tools to build a real-time dashboard. But the reason why we say you should do Excel is that when you are making analysis, you cannot send your dashboard to third party. Or when people ask you, we want to ask you about something in your company. Can you provide us this data? You won't give them access to your database, or you won't give them access to some dashboard. So you have to extract some data from your database, send it to Excel, do the analysis for them if you like to do it for them, and send it to them directly. So it's easy to use as to transfer analysis and everything like that in Excel, and to use Excel to do ad hoc analysis. We call it ad hoc analysis. So if you don't understand Excel, you only know SQL Server and you only know Python or you know Power BI, you can't send SQL Server code to somebody that is requesting to data from your company. You have to send them something presentable, something they can read. Do you understand right now? So that's just the difference. And again, it's the reason why I usually tell people to start from Excel is that Excel is like the traditional data analysis software. So once you understand Excel, you then come to a conclusion and know that okay, this is where the power of Excel reaches. Excel cannot do more than this. So, and starting from storage of data, Excel cannot store more than, when it starts getting to like 1 million rows, it starts hanging. So that is number one. Number two is that there's no structure, there's no data structure in Excel. What I mean by there's no data structure or data conformity in Excel is that if you have a column in Excel, let me see, can I pull up an Excel to show you something I mean by that? Because if you have a data in Excel and you have, for example, in our age group, let me even show it here. In our, okay, let me see, is it showing? It's not showing for now. So in our age group, if you look at our age group in the data, in our age column, you see the way we have 49 and we have all these numbers. In Excel, one of these row, we can change it to maybe, we can write it word 60 something and it will still stay. There won't be an error. But in the real world, you can't use something like that to do analysis because everything in a particular column must follow a single data type, which doesn't work like that in Excel. Do you understand now? So those are the limitations of Excel that SQL Server has come to solve, which start from storage of data to having a structure around the data. And also, it is very light, like it compresses the data, which Excel doesn't do something like that. Do you understand right now? So that is the difference. So from SQL Server 2, you get to find out that even though you can store a large number of data and everything like that, you can transform data the way you like and there's structure around it. It's only few data storage software that will allow you to do some visualization. And the visualization you'll be able to do is not something you can share with stakeholders. It's just data profiling to say, okay, how many columns do we have here? How many something do we have here? So if your real stakeholders want to see what is happening in your data, you cannot send them SQL code and ask them to be running it themselves. You have to build a dashboard for them to see number, because what people understand, what they can see is they can communicate or be able to interpret numbers very well. When we see pictures, we then understand that, okay, this picture is meaning, okay, stop. This one is meaning continue. Do you understand now? So that is why you see that there's visualization everywhere. People are talking about dashboard. So that is the difference in everything. So if you follow it in that way, though some people will say it doesn't matter the way you learn and everything like that, but if you follow it in that sequence, it will give you a structured learning and you understand why you are learning this. Do you understand right now? So that is That is the answer to that.
How much now? I hope what lectures for today and the one of yesterday will it be on your page?
Yes, I'm working on that. So once they are available, I'll make a video and let people know they are available. So I'll put everything on my page, on my YouTube page. So once
Thank
they
you
are
so much.
available,
Appreciate it.
you're welcome. So is anybody having any question again before we call it a night or a day, whichever one? Good evening, Ola. Good evening.
Hello. Good evening. Thanks so much for the. Can I hear myself?
What do you say?
No, it's just that I could hear.
So I think it's coming from me. So I'll just mute and you can ask your question.
I just want to say a big thank you for these. Really, I just want to know when you'll be coming live to do SQL and Python.
Okay. So we have done the SQL part at the beginning where we brought the data from Kaggle and we put it into the SQL server and we did some transformation. If you can see the screen right now, we did some transformation on the SQL server. So for now, the Python side of everything, for what I'm trying to do is trying to take it a little bit because some people they get the misconception that for you to get into data analytics, you need to understand Python. So for an entry level role or just someone that's just starting, you don't need to understand Python before you get into it. So I'm just taking it one after the other. So if you want to learn Python, is on my YouTube channel where I've actually used Python to do a real time analysis like this. So from scratch to finish. But for now, the whole concept will just be around um, Excel, Power BI, SQL. So that is the whole concept right now. That is what everything is revolving around.
And do you come live? Do you come live every day as well?
Not every day. I just started, so I'm thinking. I want to be stable right now, so I'll just do from Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I think I'll be able to be consistent with that kind of schedule. So for now, I've only been able to do it for like 3 days right now. So I just want to make it Saturday, Sunday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I think that will be able to I'll be able to work with that.
Are you going to let us know when next you're coming live so that because I think I really enjoyed these and I would like to follow from the beginning. Maybe next time you come live, then I can easily follow from the beginning to the end anyway.
So if you are following though I will make a video to announce that I'm going live. So, but if you are following me, one next time live, you will get a notification, and if you are available, you can join.
Following you, but it does not give me the notification that you are live.
I think I will try and look into that. And I'm actually using the TikTok live studio so that I can share my screen. So I'm still trying to understand if there's a setting I need to turn on from this so that people will get notified. I don't know. So I'll look into that and actually I'll make a video. So probably when you see that video, you get to understand I'm live then.
And do you mentor as well?
Yes, I do that.
All right. All right then. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for joining. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Hello.
Hi, Mr. Yusuf.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for all you do.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm actually new to data analysis,
Okay.
and I was just doing some practice. I got a file online. It's a sample file.
Okay.
It's let me see. I think it's .sql.
Okay.
So I'm trying to load that file on sqliteonline.com, but it's not running. It's not opening. I don't know
Okay.
if I'm making a mistake.
Yeah.
Or probably the data, the SQL server I'm using is not the right one.
Okay. Your question, it's the answer is in folds. So the first thing is that when it comes to SQL as a language, it has dialect. So for example, the way you write SQL in Microsoft SQL Server is different from the way you write it on Google BigQuery. It's different from the way you write it on MySQL. It's different from the way you write it on maybe PostgreSQL, and it might even be different on SQLite Online. So you need to understand what language was used, what software or what vendor software was used to build that SQL file you picked online. For example, if I wrote a SQL code and everything like that and I use SQL Server, somebody using PostgreSQL will not be able to load that stuff. So the only solution I have for you now is that if it is something you get online, you got it online. So I think it is not that sensitive enough. So what you can do is that you can upload it to ChatGPT and tell you to reformat it for SQLite Online. Do you understand now? ChatGPT
Yeah,
will
okay,
reformat the
okay.
code and everything for you to SQLite Online, and also tell it to give you instruction on how to then upload that into SQLite Online. So that is the only solution, because there's no way for us to know unless I see the code. I can't really know where the problem is coming from. But what I'm sure is that it might be a different dialect, it's different SQL dialect that's not compatible with SQLite Online. So you have to reformat it.
Yeah, okay, I thought so too. Thank you very much. I'll do that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So guys, so that's the last question, and we have to call it a night. So thank you for joining everyone. I really appreciate, and to everyone that have supported the live, I really appreciate. So the likes of Mariam, the likes of Maki, the likes of John, and everybody that have supported, and everybody that have liked the live, Afolabi, Money Joy, Ice Code, Ola, and everybody. I really appreciate. And to the people that have just joined, and I don't know your name, so I can't call everybody's name, so I really appreciate everybody. So thank you, Ola. I really appreciate. So hopefully tomorrow, I'm not trying to promise. So hopefully tomorrow we'll be able to conclude this part. But if I'm not here tomorrow, so by God's grace, on Friday or Saturday, I'll be here. We'll conclude everything. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for supporting. See you. Bye.